is Terry Bradshaw, quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
This is baseball, Major League Baseball. And this is
ABC's Monday Night Baseball, live from Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts.
Looking. He's under the gun. He's fired. He throws.
Believe it or not, we are at the end of July, the 26th to be exact, and 50 years ago, the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games were on the cover of Sports Illustrated, with the flame being lit by a couple of young Canadian athletes. My name is Scott Johnston, and I got a couple of aging American sports producers joining me this week, as I do every week here on Past Our Prime, Mark Hoffman and Bill Mahoney. And Bill, tell me a bit about these two knuckleheads on the cover. Who are they?
Okay, one of them, Sandra Henderson. She's a former Canadian gymnast. And then there's Stéphane Préfontaine. He's a former Canadian, or he was at the time a Canadian track athlete. I'm saying former because I'm thinking back 76. The thing that confused me, when I first saw Stéphane Préfontaine, I kept thinking, how'd they get Steve Préfontaine to do it? I thought he had passed already. But no, Stéphane Préfontaine is a Canadian track athlete, and Sandra Henderson is a Canadian gymnast.
Any relation? Any relation to Steve?
No, just an odd
I definitely
happenstance.
did a double take as well when I saw that. Not, Préfontaine, not the most common surname, and then Stéphane as well. I was like, what? But yeah, not the same guy.
No.
And I think if you go back 8 generations, they're related.
Probably.
I think you go back 8 generations, we're all related.
That's right. Brother
Of course,
Mark.
these games are in Montreal, and that brings us right to the scorecard. Former Past Our Prime guest Phil Ford was asked by a security guard in the Olympic Village, "Parlez-vous français?" Canadian soldier said, "Ah, oui. Ford, comment allez-vous?" Canadian soldier, "Bien, et vous?" Ford, that's all I know, man. Same here, Phil. That's all I know too, and my wife speaks French. So
He needed me there because I could have gone un croissant s'il vous plaît, or je m'appelle Marc, avec C, ABCD
weird if you said Jim
LMNOP.
Mark. Yeah.
Mi amore.
Mark, can you say underwear in French?
I sure can.
Un, deux, trois.
So a while back, I was commenting about this ad where they had all these athletes in their briefs, which I found kind of interesting. Well, there's a follow-up on it, and they're talking about Lou Brock, and I made fun of Craig Morton, who had just passed away, which was not cool on my part. Steve Garvey, Fred Dreyer, Ed Miranero, they're all in their briefs, for jockey. And so now these athletes are commenting about it, and Ed Miranero said, hey, it's just underwear, And so they had a different approach to it. Lou Brock said he had a few angry letters from fathers complaining that he was setting a bad example for their kids. And I said, don't kids wear underwear? So, it's, I guess, how you look at it.
Yeah, right.
Well, Mark, can I go back? Did you say, I saw a bunch of guys wearing underwear and it seemed interesting to me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I
did say that.
I saw a guy wearing a couple bun huggers. I looked twice.
Well, that begs the question: Is it what is it? Is it boxers or briefs? Is that the question?
Yeah, I remember that was the day. That was a commercial there, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is your preference?
I don't wear any.
I won't go. I figured as much. I figured it.
Boy.
Commando Bill.
That's right. Aye, aye, Captain.
He's going solo.
Time to go solo. That's right.
Hey, Bill, there's one thing that I've always found really fun, and that's rattlesnakes.
My God, Scott, you and me both. And they really do. Last week we sort of mentioned, there was people disagreeing on how to deal with a snake bite. No one really could come up with the exact way to do it. But there are some folks out there, they don't even give a damn because they take part in a lively pastime called bagging. And it's the annual rattlesnake hunt in Pennsylvania. So here's how bagging works. You and your partner put 5 live rattlesnakes in a sack while somebody else clocks you to see how long it takes. One
I'm
fellow
out.
I'm out. First I said, time out. You're going to go get a rattler. There's one guy named Bob Howe. He was acting as a pinner, and Jim Chesney is the sacker. They won the novice class in 34 seconds flat. But professional class champion Jim and Tom Couts got 5 snakes in a bag in just over 20 seconds. And you know, that's only 1.9 seconds off the world record set last year by Bill, the old man Wheeler, who ended up getting nipped by a snake but shrugged it off. But hey, but not so lucky was Ron Millicents. Ron was bitten by a rattler 2 weeks earlier. He entered the competition anyway and was then hit again, fanged again, as they like to call it, when he was bagging. He was taken to the hospital and placed in intensive care. I looked up Ron Millicents. I didn't find anything on him, so I'm assuming that he recovered and went back to bagging or pinning snakes. So there's, what do we got? The guys that tried to catch sharks and wolves. What is with people? I've never seen a rattler, but the first thing I do is when I see, if I ever did see one, go, I'm going to go get that one, Scott. Come on over.
Yeah, could you imagine, you know, old Bill Wheeler joins us here, and he's like, all right, so here's what we do, guys.
But I'm saying,
we get a bag.
Here's a guy that gets
a bunch
bitten.
of rattlesnakes, and we just start with our hands throwing them in the bag. The three of us are like,
Which hand? But I'm saying, here's a guy that gets bitten. Obviously, nothing happens to him. What's it? Who is it? Filbert Bailly had malaria and goes, yeah, I'm just keep running. I'm good. Yeah. I don't understand the human body. I mean, my God, there's people that can take stuff and just live through it.
It's time for They Said It.
They said it. Bill, Jerry DeVannen. I love this one. I even read this one to my wife. She loved it.
Well, yes, Jerry DeVannen is an Astro utility infielder. He's talking about life in baseball. He says, my daughter Kelly, who is 5, is a friend to Ken Boswell's daughter Ashley, who is the same age. They hadn't seen each other for a while, so Ashley asked my wife if Kelly had been traded.
She has.
That is the life of the child of a major league ball player for sure. Mark, UCLA in the issue. That means you.
Yep, Dick Vermeil, who left UCLA after 2 seasons to coach the Eagles, on why he feels Dallas is the team to beat this year. He says, the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl last season, and I don't see them graduating any seniors. So.
No. That is true. How about this one? Jack Brohammer, Chicago White Sox infielder, on the club's proposed use of shorts. I'm not going to wear short pants unless they let me wear a halter top too. So.
That's a good look, man.
Good look for Jack. I'll tell you what, that would have. We're 50 years later still talking about them wearing shorts. Could you imagine if they all wore halter tops as well?
Yeah, that would change the American pastime as we know it.
I was driving by this store, and there was what I thought was a lady who was looking at clothing and stuff like that. And then she turned around and had a big mustache. And I said, okay, nope.
Thankfully, it wasn't wearing his jockeys, or you would have been staring. That dude's got jockeys on.
It was a call to colors. Unsettled by political events, still unsure of their numbers, the surviving Olympians doused ranks as the Montreal Games began. Roughly 25 nations pulled out over New Zealand's rugby ties to apartheid in South Africa. Bill, this was very confusing. Some countries are leaving, some countries are staying, some countries are doing a little bit of both.
Well, I think it was like 25 African nations had pulled out. We all know because of apartheid and the New Zealand deal. But 2 of them were going to. That would have been the Ivory Coast and Senegal. They decided at least to give their athletes the opportunity to go through the opening ceremonies, and they did that, and then they just decided to stay. So Senegal and the Ivory Coast actually participated in the Olympics, and they did not withdraw.
Insane. Despite last-minute concessions from Canadian PM Trudeau, allowing Taiwan to use its flag and its anthem. The Taiwanese delegation refused to compromise on using the name Republic of China, so they went home. It was just one big mess, as these Montreal games were then and kind of still are even to this day. It was just a political minefield. Bill, our guest last week, John Neighbor, off to a good start.
Yes, he's swimming he swam to a world record 56.19 in his 100-meter backstroke semifinal. Not bad for a guy that's probably going to do pretty well in these Olympics.
Yeah, I think
I'll go out on a limb and say he's going to win at least 5 medals. Not saying I know anything. I know nothing.
Well, he won 4, didn't he?
He won a silver as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah, 4 golds and a silver,
yeah.
For our guest from last week, John Neighbor. They were teammates who helped the U.S. men dominate at the 1976 Montreal Games like no team had ever done so before. 21-year-old Indiana Hoosier Jim Montgomery, the first man ever to break 50 seconds in the 100 free, and 17-year-old Brian Goodell, the high schooler who swept both distance freestyle events. Please welcome 2 legends of that golden era of American swimming, Jim Montgomery and Brian Goodell, to past our prime. Hey, guys, thanks for coming on.
It's great to be here.
Montreal, 1976. The 2 of you combined to win 6 medals, 5 of them gold. In fact, the U.S. men won 12 of 13 golds that week. Jim, what was it like being a part of a team that dominant night after night?
Well, you were surrounded by superstars, and just to make the men's team was quite very difficult. And people don't realize that our Olympic trials times in the finals were faster than they were in the finals in Montreal, just to make the team. So, you know, it was a huge relief to make the team. And then as Doc Councilman, the head coach, afterwards congratulated everybody on making the team. But Doc stepped up and said, well, I've got some goals of my own. And he basically said, I think this team can win more medals than the rest of the whole USA Olympic team combined. And we all kind of looked at each other and we were just going, wow, you know, that really fired us up to become, you know, the dominant team that we were.
Brian, what was the atmosphere like on the pool deck between races with so many teammates chasing golds at the same time?
Well, I think we were really confident. You know, I was very young. Jim was the big man on the team. He and some of the other college guys that were a few years older than me. But I was just excited to be there and be part of such a great group of American men that were fired up to go and swim fast and have a great time. And it was just really an unbelievable experience to be part of a team that was rocking it like we were. You know, on the other hand, we had our women there who were also our teammates, and they had their hands full with the East German women. So there was a real interesting dichotomy going on between those 2 scenarios, you know, where we were just dominating the heck out of it, and they were struggling to get on the podium, you know, with a couple of German women.
You know, Brian, this is Bill. You just mentioned it. You were young, 17 years old. Looking back now, what was your mental approach at that young with all these guys in the Olympics? What was that like for you?
I was fortunate in that I'd been on the world championship team the year before with a lot of the same teammates. And so I felt like I really belonged as a part of the group and had a lot of fun with them. And, you know, I think we had 3 or 4 high school boys on that team. We had Chris Wu in the 100 breast, and we had Bobby Hackett and myself, for sure. We're all high schoolers. I think Billy Forrester had just graduated from high school. And so, you know, 4 of us were high school boys on with a bunch of college men, and a couple post grads, like Gary Hall was on there. He'd already graduated college and was a great leader for us. And Steve Furness had graduated from SC. And anyhow, it was just really pretty cool to be part of that bunch of, winners, championship swimmers, and they all like to have a lot of fun. That was one of the things that was really great about it, is that they kept it light and fun so that we didn't, kind of get ahead of ourselves and into our heads too much, and just knew that we wanted to, basically party the best way we could, which was to swim really fast.
And then, Jim, obviously you're an Indiana guy. There was a number of USC guys. Was there any rivalry before this team was together? Because you guys had faced off the two schools quite a bit.
Oh yeah, there was a big rivalry. Believe me, at NCAAs it was either USC or Indiana for a whole decade there. So yeah, big time IU, and so out of that whole team, there was like 3 or 4 USC guys, and there's 3 or 4 Indiana graduates plus myself. So, but once you got on a USA swim team, it didn't matter anymore. We were all swimming for the United States. We all wanted to win.
Brian, I went to UCLA the same time you did, so we might have had classes together for all I know. But as we were just mentioning, what was it like? Because you're the UCLA guy, and then you've got all these USC guys surrounding you.
Yeah, well, I wasn't a UCLA guy yet. I was still a Mission Viejo high school guy. So I had another year of school in high school the next year, and that was the year that I really had fun, because I got to go be recruited at all these great campuses, and and have a really super experience with that. But yeah, I was still in high school and had another year of high school left after I got home from Montreal, and that was a pretty good year of my life, I got to tell you.
We asked John Neighbor this question, and I'm going to ask both of you this. I'll start with Jim, and then I'll come to Brian. Was that 76 swim team perhaps maybe the greatest swim team that the U.S. has ever had?
I think so. I think the record speaks for itself. I mean, our motto was we didn't want to just win, we wanted to overwhelm. And that's what we did. Starting from day one, I swam one of the first events, first day was the men's 200 free. And we went in and swept the men's 200 free. Bruce Furness, John Neighbor, and myself went 1, 2, and 3. And I think that same day, we swept the men's 200 butterfly, and that set the tone for the whole meet.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. And that first day was the day, the prelims of the 1500 too. And, I was really pretty nervous for the finals of that, but for the prelims, I was pretty calm because I was seated first. I'd set the world record at the Olympic trials and went in seated first. So I was in the last heat and I could see what everyone else had done. I could just relax, go fast enough to be in the top 8 and make sure I got into the final. And so that was a wonderful day for me to be able to just kind of cruise into the finals. And then the next day, after that great finals performance that Jim just talked about, Bobby Hackett and I, 2 high school guys, were in the finals against Stephen Holland from Australia in that 1500. And it turned out to be one of the closest and best 1500 finals ever in Olympic history. And it was a great race. So anyhow, we just continued on with it. And I think, Jim, the next day was the 800 relay, wasn't it? The following day?
Yeah, I mean, the 800 free relay, we dominated that. I anchored that relay, and I jumped in with like a 15-meter lead on that. So
just don't drown.
I want to go back to Brian's race. I think that 1500-meter freestyle race was one of the greatest races, not just in swimming, but in Olympic history. I mean, that was an incredible race. 3 guys within a second of each other, battling out all the way to the last finish with Brian, then Bobby Hackett, and then Steve Holland. It was an Olympic history in the making right there.
Thanks, Jim.
Still to this day think that race was one of the greatest races in Olympic history.
Now, Jim, I'm going to stay with that for a second. I'm going to go to Brian with the 1500 in a sec. But Jim, I want to ask, just because he was such a big part of that team, tell me about Doc Councilman and how important he was to the success of all the swimmers.
Doc lit the fire under the team from day one, and he came in and he said, I might be the head coach by name, but there's 3 head coaches right here, and we're here to help every 27 swimmers the best we can. And there was an open door. There wasn't any animosity or problems or anything with the team members at all. They were wide open, and they were just there to make us better swimmers. So Doc, Don Gambrell, George Haynes all had a big part on the success of the coaching part of that team.
Now over to you there, Brian. Because I'm looking over my notes, I'm going back and forth. There's just so much amazing stuff that you guys accomplished. But when you talk, Brian, you were just saying about setting world records, and the way you talk about it is like, yeah, just set a world record. How does that feel to know that you set a world record in 2 events? I mean, and you're 17 years old to boot.
Well, it became kind of normal for us because between the 72 Olympics and the 76 Olympics, the records were falling pretty fast. Like every year there was new records, especially in the 1500 free. And I was a young guy in 72. I was only 13 when I watched those Olympics on TV and saw Mark Spitz, win his 7 gold medals, and Mike Burton win his gold medals in the 1500. But anyhow, but then I was chasing Tim Shaw and Stephen Holland and all the great distance guys at the time. And I was just coming up, I was like a freshman in high school. And I'm racing Tim Shaw and Bruce Furness at my CIF, championship meet and in dual meets against Bruce with Foothill High School. And, I was just chasing these guys. And, so every time they'd break a world record, I'd be like second or third in the race, And so for about 3 years, I was in a lot of races where world records were broken, and it became kind of normal for me to be in a race where there was a world record at stake. And then finally at the Olympic trials, I did win the 400 free first in a new world record. I broke Tim Shaw's world record, and then I broke Stephen Holland's world record in the 1500. So now I'm coming into the Olympics as the world record holder. And, it didn't feel that unusual. We kind of knew it was going to take a world record to win those races. And we were shooting for, the moon. We were going for like a lot faster than what we actually ended up going. I like to say, I never had a perfect race. I always failed a little bit in every race. Even then I won and broke a world record. I kind of wasn't hitting the time goal that I'd set for myself, but I knew if I didn't set the time goal where I thought perfection was, then I was going to miss it by a lot more than that.
Brian, didn't Holland, who won the bronze, also set a world record?
All 3 of the first 3 guys broke the world record in that race. Yeah.
That's just phenomenal.
Yeah. So he had gone 15:11 at his Olympic trials in February that year. And I went 15:06 at our Olympic trials. And then I went 15:02, Bobby went 15:03, and Holland went 15:04. We all broke that world record in that final event. That's what Jim was talking about. It was one of the great races of all time.
It really was. And you got Keith Jackson on the call. I mean, you've got that for the rest of your life, Brian. If I were you, I'd be
Keith
watching
Jackson
that
and Mark Spitz. Yeah.
I'd be watching that on a loop every day. Hey, do you guys see my race?
I watch it a little more than I probably should.
Now, you guys are on the opposite ends there. Jim, your race lasts 50 seconds. And Brian, yours lasts 15 minutes. Do you guys get nervous watching each other more so than you do actually participating? Jim, you go first.
Well, I mean, 50 seconds, you're so locked into swimming every second of that race, that in my mind and that I trained for literally like 6 years. So when I got up there on the blocks, I was super confident of exactly how I wanted to swim that race and jump in and take absolute control from the first stroke. So, you're just so locked in to concentrate on every aspect of that 50 seconds that, that's all I thought about is I just wanted to, blow everybody away from the first stroke.
Which you did. So what's it like then to be on a bystander, if you will, and watch your teammates go for 15 minutes? I mean, in that race, like you said, it's incredible. Are you guys nervous? Are you confident? Or are you both?
Well, I mean, I was cheering the heck out of, Brian and Bobby, and that whole race was just, you were like spellbound watching these guys, stroke for stroke. I think, Brian, I remember, Holland kind of made a move, and then kind of halfway through, Bobby Hackett made a move on everybody and then fell back, and then we're just kind of going, oh no, Bobby's gonna, not be able to keep up and stuff. And then Brian comes in and kind of takes a control and has a great last 200 meters and moves ahead of everybody. And I think Brian, you went like a 156 that last 200 meters. That just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that was about a 156.8, I think. But the thing is Bobby didn't die. Bobby usually went out fast and died, and he didn't die this time. He hung on right there, beside me, and it was so it was a barn burner all the way home, And luckily that last 50, I really pulled out a pretty big lead, but we were really tight going into the 1,450 meter turn with one lap to go, one length of the pool to go. And Bobby was right there, and we both kind of just left the Aussie, in our wake. And thank God for that. Although Steve's a great guy, and he trained with me in Mission Viejo earlier that year, and but we had a great time, and it was just really an incredible race. And I'm just thank God that I was able to pull it out and win that one.
Brian, you mentioned it a couple times. You're 17, you're a junior in high school, just finished. You're going back for your senior year, and you're like, it was a great year. I bet it was a great year. Tell me about your senior year in high school.
Well, it was a good year. Yeah, I was, obviously very popular at school, and I was popular all across the country with all these college guys and their coaches calling me all the time, and then going and doing, visits on campuses, and they're setting me up with like the prettiest girl they can find on the campuses. And I'm like, so it was kind of funny because my sister was at UCLA at the time, and she was a junior that year at UCLA, and I was, a senior in high school. And they were setting me up with these girls that were like my sister's age, and that kind of grossed me out a little bit. I'm like, I feel like I'm dating my sister here.
Yeah. Hopefully you got over that.
I got over pretty fast, but I was a little shy. I guess I was a little shy about it. But anyhow, it was just fun, I mean, it was really a special year, and I swam pretty well, although I didn't blow everything away. I kind of took a little break in terms of the intensity of training for a little bit. It was kind of a really good balancing year, I'd say. It was really good balance. I've got to have a good time at school. I got to have a good time on visits, and I had a good time in the pool.
It's like people say, what did you do this summer? Oh, I went on vacation with my parents. Oh, I went to the Olympics and won a bunch of gold medals. Pretty nice.
True.
So both you competed in freestyle. So let me start with Jim and then have Brian, you chime in. How does it, to prepare to swim freestyle, how is it different from other strokes? Is it easier? Is it more difficult? Is it more free because you're doing freestyle?
Well, in practice for me, I was a sprint freestyler, so 85, 90% of the time you swim freestyle. I mean, you never went over to the breaststroke lane, that's for sure. And so I mean, I was kind of a middle distance freestyler. I was great at 200 yards, and I was really good at long course 100 meters. So I mean, if I had to do the perfect race my whole life, it would have been right at about 150 meters. I mean, at an early age, training from like 9 to 14, you're working on your freestyle mechanics. I had a really good age group coach that really taught me the right mechanics and taught me how to train hard and practice.
And Brian?
Yeah, I think Jim and I met in the middle a little bit between 200 and 400 sometimes in races. And I actually, in that 200 at Olympic trials, I actually tied for sixth place with Doug Northway at 1:52.76, which was 100th of a second faster than Mark Spitz's winning time from the 72 Olympics. Yeah, so I could have been on that relay, that 200 free relay, but then I won the other two races, the 400 and the 1500, and decided, and that relay was the day in between the 1500 final and the 400. So decided that I would pass on that opportunity, and Doug Northway made the team, and so everyone was happy. But I also did go over. I never really went in the breaststroke lane like Jim said, but I started in the backstroke lane at Mission Viejo, and was a backstroker IMer as an age grouper. It was kind of my specialty. And then one day I swam a really great negative split 1500, and my coach Mark Schubert decided that was my event from now on. And so he trained me for that. But I also still did the 400 IM. I won that 3 times at NC2As. And so I still had to train my other stroke. So I had a good balance routine. Usually, 2 days a week, I'd work on strokes, and 3 days, or actually it was 4 days a week, I'd work on freestyle. And we did a lot of really humongous, over distance sets. So I had great endurance, and then luckily some speed came out of it a little bit as I got closer to the Olympics.
Now, both you guys had the opportunity to stand on that podium after winning medals. But 5 golds between the two of you, a bronze as well. What was it like on that podium, hearing the national anthem and the pride you felt for what you achieved for your country?
Well, it was a really special feeling, and it's something that I had visualized over and over and over every night when I went to bed. A lot of times when I was swimming long sets in the pool, I would visualize that, standing there, hearing the national anthem, and sort of trying to manifest that, which I eventually did. And so it was kind of like it was a dream coming true, and in the moment, standing up there and just kind of soaking it all in, soaking the crowd in, soaking the ambiance of the indoor swimming stadium, with the way that you hear the water going into the gutters and everything circulating, and then also watching that flag go up at the other end of the pool, hearing the national anthem. It's something that I've played back in my mind over and over again over the years, and it's really pretty special to have that memory and that feeling that, I guess I should talk a little bit about that race in the 1500 in the final. I was really nervous beforehand. And after I was able to break through and come from behind and win that race on the last 100 meters, I felt like I could do anything. And so the next 2 days later, when I swam the 400, came out on the deck, and I was already the Olympic champion in my mind. And it was kind of like just flipping a switch on the wall, like a light switch. I think it really made change. I went from kind of believing I could to knowing I could. And there's a big gap between believing you can and knowing you can, right? Do something. And so that's when it happened for me. And in a matter of 3 days in Montreal changed my whole life.
And Jim, how did it feel to stand on that podium and listen to the anthem?
Well, I got to stand up there 3 times, and before the 100-meter free, I was up there with my teammates on 2 relays, which I was privileged to anchor. And then I swam the 200 free, and of course, won the bronze. But after I won the 100-meter free, I mean, I tell you what, I was exhausted. And I just remember being up there on the podium and thinking, my parents, my coaches, my teammates, I was thinking I did it. I did it, but I did it for all my teammates and my parents and my coaches, and I represented my country, and I won a gold medal, for my country. But I don't think after that 100 free I could have swam another stroke. So I just sat up there and just like total disbelief, and just soaking it all in, and thinking I'm ready to go home and celebrate.
Jim, I'll stay with you. In the 100 freestyle, you're the first person ever to break the 50-second mark at 49.99. Did you know in that race that you were doing that, or when did you realize, wow, I broke that?
The last thing in my mind was not breaking 50 seconds. We're near at the Olympics, and you got the goal on the line. All you wanted to do was win. The time was just totally secondary. And so I, was very fortunate by 1/100th to do that. I remember after the race, my coach, Doc Councilman, came up to me and he said, going that 49.99 might not mean much to you now, but it's going to be with you the rest of your life. It's going to mean a lot more later on than it does, winning the gold medal at that time. So, I mean, I didn't even think about the time. I just wanted to get in and win, period.
And then, Brian, I want to go right to you. You're in the 1500. Obviously, the race we've talked about is longer. When you're in a race like that, what is going through your mind? And do you know where your competitors are, or are you just focused on your swim?
Well, I do know where my competitors are, and I always wore goggles so I could look underwater and see where they were. And, if you watch the replay of the race, you can see me lifting my head a few times to find out where's Holland over there? He's across the pool, like 4 lanes away and across a couple people. So I was trying to keep track of them, keep tabs on them. And so I was looking around at my competitors most of the time, but you also, you need to focus in on your stroke and your technique and not be lifting your head and looking all around. So it's a little bit, you're trying to sneak a peek here and there. I remember one time, in fact, going into that wall with the 50 meters to go at 14:50 and looking at Hackett right in the face. We both hit the wall and we were like both groaning in pain, grimacing in pain. And I could see his face and his mouth, and he could see mine. And anyhow, so yeah, I did keep track of them. And but you do want to keep your own pace a little bit and your own I guess your own counsel, your own race plan. And I was off, because I was so nervous before that race. I was actually shaking so bad that the coach who was rubbing me down was a guy named Selden Fritschner, who was one of our coaches from Mission Viejo. And he was worried that I wasn't going to be able to get up off that rub down table and actually walk out to get on the blocks. I was shaking so bad. And so he helped me calm down by talking to me about what I was going to do after the Olympics, taking my mind out of the moment and putting me into a nice camping trip in the Sierras with my buddies, fishing and going to Hawaii and going surfing. And so it calmed me down. But when I got out there, I was so nervous. I hyperventilated and I couldn't feel my arms or legs on the blocks. I hyperventilated so much. And had no idea how fast I was going when I dove in at the start of the race for the first couple 100 meters. I was just out of it. And so so my race plan kind of went out the window a little bit. And then I was just chasing. I was chasing Bobby, and I was chasing Holland. And for a little while there, I wasn't chasing him very well. I wasn't catching up. And so I began to worry. And in a 1500, you have a lot more time to think about it than you do in 100. And so I was very concerned at about 1,100 meters, where you really start to go into what we call the pain barrier. You know, you're deciding whether you're going to go for it or not because everything's hurting. And and I just remember looking up and visualizing the award ceremony. And this time I was getting the bronze instead of the gold because that's where I was tracking, and it didn't fit with the picture that I'd programmed into my head over and over. So suddenly my stroke rate improved, my length on my strokes improved, my kick came up, and I just started moving on the last 400. And it was an incredible 400. It would have won the gold medal in the 72 Olympics by about 4 seconds. That my last 400 on my 1500 in Montreal, it was that much faster. And it was an amazing, comeback. And so I didn't take the lead until the 1400 meter mark, and then, kind of pulled away on the last 100.
Now, Jim, one of the great things I love about this podcast is learning certain things that I had no idea. And one of them is 50 years ago, how dominant a program Indiana was in swimming. I mean, when I think Indiana, I think of it as a football school. But you guys back in the day under Doc were as good as anybody year in and year out. How much pride did you have being a part of that?
Well, I remember coming in as a freshman at Indiana, and Indiana had won 6 NC2A championships in a row. And before that, I think they were put on probation because of their football team back there in the 60s, where they couldn't even compete at NC2As for about 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, Doc could have put together a streak of 10 NC2As in a row. So I came in as a freshman, and we had, world record holders. We had NC2A champions. We had 12 seniors that were all American. I mean, I was really intimidated, thinking, man, I just want to make the Big Ten team. So, I mean, I was just like in awe of all these great swimmers, John Kinsella, Mike Stam, all these, world record holders and national record holders and stuff. So I was just like, glad just to be on the team. And I thought, back then it was my freshman year, that was one of the great college swim teams of all time, my freshman year. Of course, USC won that year by 1 point, which we still think they, cheated to do it. But that just was I was totally intimidated. And then, we still had really good teams. My freshman through senior year, we came in like second, fourth, and fourth. And USC won all those 4 years with, of course, they had an incredible class of, John Neighbor and Bruce Furness and Joe Bottom, and just, an incredible string right there. So it was a real battle to, to keep up with those guys. So that was, every day in practice, there'd be somebody that would just be going berserk, training like crazy, and just beating up everybody. And if you wanted to train really hard, all you had to do was switch over lanes and swim next to a teammate that was just having an incredible workouts.
Those damn cheating Trojans. Brian,
we're going to get over it.
Right? Exactly. Hey, Brian, so you win this in 76. You're 17 years old, and you said you take a little bit of time off before you get back into the pool and start training again. I'm assuming all eyes at some point look ahead to 1980. And, well, you never got the opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that and the disappointment of not getting to go up against your arch rival, and the documentary that is made about that as well.
Yeah, so in 80, so but from between 76 and 80, we talked about it. I went to, I chose UCLA where to go. I wanted to swim with George Haynes, who was one of our coaches from the 76 team there. I really respected him and thought it'd be an incredible experience to be able to train with him. So so that's what I chose. And I thought that building a team at UCLA would be great to dethrone the Trojans, who just won 4 straight national titles. And we finally did win the national championship. It was the year after I graduated. So I was a graduate assistant. So it was the 5th year. It took a little longer than I thought it would. But so I had, a great run there at UCLA. My first 3 years, I won all my events at NC2As. I won every year. I won the 500 free, the 400 IM, and the 1500 or 1650 free. And then the last year was after the boycott in 80, and it was 81. And that was a tough year. That was a really tough year because when President Carter announced the boycott, it took all the wind out of my sails and a lot of people's sails. It's just like it's all we trained for. That's all we did. We didn't have pro swimming. We didn't make money. There was nothing like that. It was all for the pride. It was all for the glory of the Olympics and winning the gold, and then that was taken away. So it made it really tough that last year to keep going. And I had some challenges with that. And then I got really sick at our Pac-10 conference meet just a few weeks before NC2As and wasn't able to recover. They had a flu going around. The meet that was really important at that year would have been, the Olympics in Moscow. And I was planning to take some time off and train at Mission Viejo. And I ended up taking the time off, but it was really difficult to train. And so I didn't get myself in the fitness shape that I needed to be in to break that. It was really kind of a race to be who was the first human to break 15 minutes in the mile. That was the kind of the goal. And Vladimir Salnikov, the Soviet Union, was coming up, and he was, getting stronger. And I had been sort of hanging in there, hanging around. And we thought that would be an amazing race in Moscow, and then it just didn't come together. So last year, a couple of years ago, a film crew out of Moscow created a documentary about Salnikov, basically about his story, which is a really incredible story. And over the course of interviewing me and Mark Schubert and John Neighbor and Roddy Gaines and Max Metzger from Australia and some other European swimmers, a whole nother segment of that story emerged, and it came down to, the rivalry between me and Salnikov that was growing, and sort of expected this big race would have been amazing in Moscow, but it didn't happen. And Vladimir went on to break 15 minutes. He went 14:58. So he beat my time by about 4 seconds. And, 4 years later, and then he became the guy who was the only one to break 15 minutes for like 9 years. So he was really kind of known as the GOAT, the greatest of all time in that. But this documentary is pretty cool because it revealed a thing that I didn't know, that the heads of the Soviet swimming system wanted him to retire. They didn't think he should keep going. And he finally did go and win in Barcelona, after winning in Moscow, then boycotting in 84, Los Angeles, and then going to Barcelona. So he hung in there for like 4 different Olympic games till he could actually win a gold medal when it was fully attended games. That was what was important to him. And so, and he didn't break 15 minutes in that last one, but he did win the gold. And then he retired, and it's a pretty cool story. It's a great film. It's called The Duel We Missed, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of that project. It hasn't been able to be distributed yet because guess who's standing in the way? The International Olympic Committee.
Yep.
They want their money.
Yep.
They want their $45,000 a minute for 7 minutes of footage that's of Olympic footage in that film. The producers have paid him half of that, 180 grand already. They're trying to find another 180 grand so it can be released to the rest of the world to watch it.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money.
Rains of fire, questions fly, lightning strikes as answers try, buzzers wreak chaos in the air, trivia time, truth or dare.
President John F. Kennedy actually was a swimmer in college. True or false?
True.
All right. Yeah, it is true. He swam on the Harvard freshman team and the varsity team. He actually, I think, did the backstroke. And then, of course, he was famous for, obviously, PT 109, saving all those people, swimming them to an island after their boat got cut in half. So, yes, he was a swimmer in college at Harvard.
This one is for both of you. I know it's been 50 years, and I can't believe when we say past our prime. Yeah, it's been 50 years since you guys were dominant in the Olympics. And you two know each other. You two know each other real well. Take me back, and I don't want something that's Olympic in terms of swimming. What do each of you have a story about the other that might be fun about what you guys did or what something goofy you did that just doesn't have to do with pool stuff? Just having you two on is such an honor. I want to see if you guys have something fun that you guys did, maybe away from the pool.
Well, Brian had a nickname that a swimmer came up with. I think it was at the World Championships in '75. A guy named Robin Backhouse, a great swimmer, butterflyer and stuff like that. And Brian, being like 16, 17 years old, he looked like the from the TV show Dennis the Menace. Yeah. So Robin's sitting there one day and Brian's sitting there and he looks like a little kid, okay? And we're 21, 22, we're upper college swimmers and stuff like that. So Robin nicknames Brian Buckwheat. From then on, every time I see Brian, I call him, "Hey, Buckwheat, how you doing?"
Yeah, buckwheat from Spanky and our gang.
Yes.
Yep.
That's better than alfalfa.
Yeah. So Bacchus was my roommate on that trip at training camp in Long Beach. He started calling me that, buckwheat, and it stuck. And Jim's the one who remembers it most and always calls me that. Hey, buckwheat. And I always call him Big Jim. Hey, Big Jim.
Well,
he had another nickname too, but I won't mention it on this podcast. And one of the things that happened was John Hankin was, kind of a brainiac breaststroker. Breaststrokers are a little different than the rest of the squad usually, and they have feels like a screw loose or maybe a whole, whole part of their brain different. And he was really into we called him Rocket Man. He made rockets. That was his hobby, and he built some really great rockets that they would shoot off between workouts when we were out at the hotel. And then we were there for the bicentennial in Canton for the big 4th of July celebration of America's 200th year birthday, and he made a huge rocket that he shot off, and it was amazing. And the whole place, it was like the whole town was like just blown away. And that thing took off and had to go like a quarter mile in the air or something. And then it had a parachute and we all ran around trying to find it. But it was a great time. It was just a great experience for us. And real Americana,
Brian, if there's one thing you want to screw loose in, it's rockets.
Not really.
No, it sounds like that's like left-handed pitchers, right? They're a different breed. So I never knew that about breaststrokers.
There's a saying, I think it's pretty true, is that you got to be born a breaststroker. And if you're born a breaststroker, that's all you are. You're a breaststroker.
Born a Breaststroker. That's something I'd never heard before. Love it.
Sounds like a book or a country song.
Exactly. Jim
Hey, that's a great
Montgomery,
idea. Let's write a country song.
Exactly.
Right?
Born a breaststroker.
Brian Goodell and Jim Montgomery, thank you both for sharing these stories with us. Couple of the greatest
Yeah.
members of that U.S. swim team that 50 years later is still being celebrated, and we're still talking about them. That's how dominant they were back in the day. Congratulations on everything you guys did then, guys. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. It was really fun.
See you
Have
later.
fun in Colorado.
Yes.
See you, Jim.
Have a great time, guys. Safe travels. Rookie cards of baseball, basketball, and football stars are iconic pieces of American history, and they have been outstanding investments over the last 50 years. Now, key issues of Sports Illustrated, professionally graded and encapsulated by CGC, have emerged as an exciting alternative to trading cards. ThePit.com is the leading online exchange for investment-grade sports magazines. General Manager Mark Humphreys offers Sports Illustrated first cover editions featuring stars like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Jeter, Ken Griffey Jr., and so many more. Mark Humphreys here once again as we wrap up July of 1976 with the July 26th issue. The Summer Olympics get started. Sandra Henderson and Stéphane Préfontaine on the cover, lighting the torch in Montreal. Mark, not sure about this one in terms of being graded or having gone up much in dollar value.
So when I researched this magazine on the CGC census, which is the record by Comics Guarantee Company of how many have been graded, I was so sure that no one had bothered to grade this magazine because I believe it's very uncollectible, that when I saw the record of an issue that had been graded, and it said Stéphane Préfontaine, I immediately thought, okay, that's an error. They're mixing up Steve Préfontaine and somehow got confused with the 1970 Steve Préfontaine cover in the database. But then when I read a little backstory, I learned that the torchlighters here, starting the Montreal 1976 Olympic Games, were, as you have mentioned, Stéphane Préfontaine, probably only a distant relation to Steve Préfontaine, the Oregon Ducks runner and Olympian who had passed away by this point, and Sandra Henderson, representing respectively the French-speaking and the English-speaking parts of Canadian and especially Montreal society, and a show of unity. So there, as I've said before, for whatever reasons, there are very few people who collect Olympics memorabilia. Collecting is dominated by the major team sports, quite possibly because they are visible almost throughout the year, not only during the seasons, but with huge draft day events, and because there's so much money in those major team sports. Someone did grade one of these issues from July 26th, and it's even a subscription issue, but I don't know of any market for it. The magazine does raise an interesting question. Are there any Olympics themed covers which are collectible, or which are the most collectible? And my answer to that is that there is some interest in Olympic athletes who establish themselves as the greatest of all time in a few of the most popular and most participated in sports. Those that come to mind are swimming, where Michael Phelps issues have some interest and are graded and encapsulated by some collectors, and also track and field, probably even more so. But the interesting thing about track and field is that there's not a lot of national loyalty. People American collectors would collect Usain Bolt because he's considered the fastest human of all time over Michael Johnson, who won many golds for the United States and was the world record holder in the 200 meters. But Bolt has now surpassed Michael Johnson, and so there would be very little interest in Michael Johnson at this point. Now, Carl Lewis is an American track and field athlete who would have some level of interest by collectors because of his amazing record over, I guess, 4 Olympics in the sprints and long jumps. Truly one of the greatest track and field athletes of all time. But when you go beyond Phelps, Bolt, and Carl Lewis, the amount of interest in Olympics collecting is very low.
Only thepit.com offers competitive buy now and sell now quotes on graded magazines online, as well as many of the most popular modern PSA graded rookie cards, including Shohei Ohtani, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Nikola Jokic, and Steph Curry. Trade sports stars like stocks at thepit.com. Mark, who represented the U.S. by carrying the flag?
It was Gary Hall, and he became the first swimmer to actually carry the flag. He won a silver in the 68 Olympics, he won a silver in the 72 Olympics, and he wins a bronze here in the 76 Olympics. So even though he never won gold, it's pretty interesting to find someone that has won a medal or has medaled in 3 straight Olympics. That's quite an accomplishment. And he medaled in different events, 400-meter medley, 200-meter butterfly, and 100-meter butterfly.
He carried the flag without dipping it, later saying the ceremony left him overwhelmed with emotion and lamented how repeated political disputes at the Olympics have overshadowed the years of athlete sacrifices behind them. So kind of the right spirit there in terms of Gary Hall and what holding the flag means for the opening ceremonies. All right, that's enough.
And wasn't
No,
I'm sorry, Scott. Wasn't Gary Hall the first swimmer to ever do the hold the flag?
Yes. Yep.
Was it?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah, you may have already said that. I'm sorry, I was plugging my computer.
Yeah,
but
he
I
did
just thought
say that.
I did.
I'm
Thanks
sorry.
a lot.
I
said,
made a
God
mistake.
That's it.
If Mark says he's the first and Bill says he's the first, does that make him the second?
You know, it's funny. When I said it, I thought, I bet you they said that when I went in to get my plug for the computer. So let me ask again. Mark, was there any other swimmers that ever carried the flag?
No, like I said, Bill, there wasn't any. And I've got some rattlesnakes for you to manage
Thank
in a
you.
second here.
I'm a pinner.
But hey, I do have trivia for you guys, and it's basically, do you understand the 5 rings for the Olympics, what that symbolizes and the colors, what it symbolizes?
The interlinking of nations?
Yeah, well, yes, but why are there 5 rings? It represents the continents that are competing. So there haven't been, I guess, an Arctic or an Antarctic team, you know. So it's the 5 continents. And the colors, which is blue, yellow, black, green, and red, against a white background. Those are chosen because every competing flag contained at least one of those colors.
Oh.
So,
That's very interesting.
Here's
I never
your
knew
trivia.
that, Mark. I never knew that.
yeah. Glad I could help.
So let's see.
And tell me about Gary Hall.
There's Asia, Africa. I guess the Americas are one.
Yeah.
North America. North America.
Right. Well, it should be North and South. Then it would be Europe and Australia. So that would be 6. So I'm assuming
No.
that the Americas
What are we
count as
missing?
1.
Asia, Africa. Oh, you're going to make me.
Well, I
look this up
disagree with
again,
that
aren't you?
all.
Because I had it in.
The only one that doesn't have
now you're gonna-
one of the 7 that doesn't have people is Antarctica.
There's people there.
Okay, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctic, Europe, and Australia. Those are your 7.
That's like 10.
No, it's 7.
Well.
Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So they don't count Arctica in here, which is interesting. They count Antarctica, but not Arctica.
Okay, I'm out. I'll never watch the Olympics.
But that still leaves six.
Isn't that interesting?
It does, yeah. So you're still
Right, but no one represents Antarctica in the Olympics.
Right.
So that's why it's not
So
part of
the
ring.
five would be
So that's
Asia, Africa, Europe,
Yes.
Australia, and the Americas. Not North and South, but has to be the Americas.
Scott's getting upset here.
Right?
I'm stepping back.
You know what?
I'm standing
That's
up
very
for
interesting.
Antarctica.
So I'm trying to figure out here, Australia, Europe, Antarctica.
You look,
So
5
you're
Olympics
right.
ring
Why is-
represents, it says, the union of the 5 inhabited continents, which are Africa, the Americas, Asia, Europe, and Oceania.
So they combine Americas. That's what they do. They combine Americas.
Oh, if I had only said that.
Didn't you say that? Did you say you said that? Didn't you, Scott?
Hey, Bill, did you know Gary Hall is the first swimmer?
No way. The first one ever?
First swimmer.
This is unbelievable.
Now he's third.
And Gary Hall, didn't he grow up in Antarctica?
He did.
I mean, come on, this is amazing.
Did you guys know that the Olympics count the Americas as one continent?
Wow, Scott's getting fired up. I want to know about Gary Hall. Mark's moving to Antarctica. This is good stuff.
And we're all getting bitten by snakes after the show.
We're joining that game.
I got old Bob Wheeler joining us.
old Bob Wheeler is probably 40 years old. Back in 76, like, oh yeah, old Bob Wheeler. 36, that some bitch is old.
What's making OJ go? OJ Simpson requested a trade from the Buffalo Bills to a West Coast team, primarily to save, oh boy, his troubled marriage since his wife, Marguerite, had stayed in L.A. and their family life was fraying under his growing fame. Mark, it sounds like Marguerite got off flight.
She did. It's interesting. It's interesting that he had marital problems there, and this is before Nicole and stuff. But yeah, he wanted to play for a West Coast team. He eventually goes to the 49ers, but that's not until 1978. But I found really fascinating was, so the owner of the Bills, Ralph Wilson's at a White House dinner that's honoring the West German Chancellor, Helmut Schmidt. And he goes up to President Gerald Ford at the time, and he says, you know, I've got a problem here. You know, OJ wants to be traded, and it's proving very difficult. Can you give him any help? So President Carter says, hey, I'm sorry, but I got enough problems of my own. So Wilson goes back, thinks about it for a while, and then goes, what could be possibly more important than trading OJ Simpson?
Yeah, in fact, Wilson joked that the Rams rejected initial Bills' proposals, saying the two sides were 2,003 yards apart, which is exactly the number of yards that OJ ran in, what was it, 1974, I believe. Yeah, Bill, the Bills wanted a ransom for him in return for OJ.
Yeah, they wanted either Jack or Jim Youngblood and a guy like Lawrence McCutcheon. They eventually, the Rams obviously laughed at that one. They eventually got 5 draft picks from the 49ers, who pretty much, I think, combined all of them, played 8 years for the team. And one of them, Tom Cousineau, the number 1 overall pick, was that 1977? He played no downs for the Bills, not for at least 4 more years. So wasn't the best time to be make that trade.
No.
I was going to say Bills fan, but that was back in the day. It wasn't easy being a Bills fan.
No, for sure.
It's interesting. Every time you see an article about O.J. Simpson, it's like kind of surreal, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird thing is O.J. used to come to, because Nicole Brown Simpson, I went to the high school that she went to. She graduated a year before I got there. But O.J. would always come to our football games because Nicole's younger sister was in my grade. And I never saw him, but they used to have parties over in Monarch Bay where they lived. And yeah, he said he was a really great guy at that time.
Yep.
I never saw him. I didn't run in that crowd.
OJ privately lamented never playing for a championship team, telling a friend he could return to Buffalo, gain 1,500 yards, and we'd still finish 7-7, which is kind of true. Although they did have some good teams, I think they were competitive back then.
Yeah. Yep.
After the 77 season, he did go home. He goes to the Niners for 2 unproductive seasons. This season he's about to have here in Buffalo, I believe, is his last really good season in the NFL. So That's the thing about running backs, man. They have great, great seasons, and then like one okay season, and then they're done.
Yeah, but I'm saying with OJ, you're right. He did have, I believe he had a decent season. But yeah, he goes to the 49ers. All I remember him on the 49ers is always he had ice on his knees all the time.
Yeah.
He always had wraps on his knees. So he wasn't obviously the same player, but boy, just, you're right, he dropped like a stone.
The winner's name was Mudd, Eddie Mudd, in fact, a 22-year-old golfer from Louisville. Bill, tell us a little bit about Eddie and his lovely bride.
Well, Eddie Mudd was a guy that was a good college champion, and I think it was Morehead State. But Eddie was a tobacco chewing golfer. So you don't see too many. You see ball players, but you don't see too many guys on a golf course spitting and chewing tobacco. But his wife, she loves him too. Nicely, Eddie convinced her to stop smoking cigarettes, but now she is now chewing Applejack. So they're the only two husband and wife that's on the tour and just ba-ding, spitting. I mean, I've never chewed tobacco, but it doesn't seem like it's what you would see a professional golfer or even a college golfer do. But
let alone his wife.
What's the...
Yeah, and his wife too. And his wife was a teacher. And they said they believe she's probably the only tobacco chewing female math teacher in the Jefferson County school system. I mean, boy, yeah, One more thing about Mudd. Eddie Mudd had said, I'm done with school. As soon as I'm out, I'm never going back. I intend to turn pro, try to play the tour, and if that doesn't work out, I'm going to just get a club job in Louisville. Well, what has he been doing the last 50 years? He's working a club job in Louisville. He actually never was able to get his Q card, so he did do what he said. He went back and got a club job, and he's very successful at that. I don't know if he's still chewing tobacco.
If he's still with us, like you say he is, he probably is. Could you imagine, though, I keep picturing, the teacher going, okay, students, let's do our sevens. What's 7 times 2? 14. What's 7 times 3? 21. What's 7 times... In a strike zone of his own, Jim Palmer, the Orioles star pitcher, is portrayed as an atypical superstar, a devoted family man, a gardener, a philanthropist, just an all-around Renaissance man who could also throw the heck out of a baseball. And part of that reason, Mark, was his trust in his mechanics.
Yeah, he had this really unique high leg kick. But it was a thing of beauty to watch Jim Palmer pitch, and probably one of the best looking guys to ever play in Major League Baseball. And what a lot of people don't know is that he actually lived in Beverly Hills when he was a kid. He actually played in Beverly Hills Little League. And he set records in Beverly Hills Little League for a long time. But I mean, what a great pitcher, man. 268 wins, over 2,200 strikeouts. I mean, he was a 6-time All-Star, 3-time Cy Young Award winner. I mean, when I was growing up in my teens, Jim Palmer was like always to me like the best pitcher in baseball, even if he wasn't that year. He just was.
Yep. And I got to think that, how old are you in 1976, Mark?
30.
16. 16 going on 30.
I got to think
I was 16.
16-year-old Mark was not happy that Jim Palmer won the Cy Young Award this year.
Oh, yeah, over Mark Fidrich, definitely. But, he's a winner. The Tigers weren't a winning team that year, so I get it.
Bill, a little bit of OCD for this great Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he made sure everything in his house was in perfect order. That would include the wife and the sons. Everything, if you walked to his house, was absolutely perfect. So obviously he took that focus from the mound and trying to be perfect. They had talked about many times his run-ins with manager Earl Weaver. And he'd go home and do the exact same thing. And maybe that was part of it that helped him become the amazing pitcher that he was.
Yeah, and like you guys said, he was a great athlete in football, baseball, and basketball. Didn't you say, Billy, that he had a chance to play college basketball?
He did. He was an all-state basketball player, averaged more than 25 points a game. UCLA offered him a scholarship, and if he had taken that, he would have played with Lou Alcindor. Or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Not bad.
By the way, on a side note, I heard a recent interview with Bob McAdoo, who was a previous guest on our show, and he talked about the fact that he had a choice to go to either North Carolina or UCLA. And he picked North Carolina, but he said if I'd gone to UCLA playing with Walton, I would have won a national championship.
Yeah. Well, that was the allure of going to UCLA. You come here, you might not play, but you're going to win a national championship.
Yeah, because remember with Sven Nader, that's what Wooden told him. How many kids nowadays, if someone came up, the coach came up and said, hey, you're not going to play at all or very minimally, but come here, I'll teach you how to be a winner and I'll get you ready for the next stop in your life. Yeah. Not any.
The most depressing thing of all is to play on a team that you know right from the start of the season hasn't got a chance, Palmer said. He would know a little thing about that. The Orioles, when Palmer was around, they were contenders. They won a couple World Series. And let's be honest, they have not been great for a long, long time. Their last World Series, I was surprised to see this, was 1983. So it has been a while for the Orioles. But, man, those teams with Palmer and Weaver, they were good back then.
And also throw in Eddie Murray and Ken Singleton and the Rick Dempsey. Every guy they had on their team, John Lowenstein would hit when he was there. They just had a strong. I knew the Orioles because they were so good when I was growing up.
Yep.
It's only in the past, I don't say recent history, that you don't really know every player. You know certain guys, but you don't really know the team anymore.
Yeah, Dennis and Tippy Martinez.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Tippy Martinez. Yeah, I love that guy.
Now, this next one, I didn't really read all of it, but the headline kind of caught my attention because it's the Guardian Dragon of Sulphur Bottom, and it says, 2 naked men take on a monster in an attempt to keep trespassers away from a primeval swamp in East Texas. And I'm thinking, 2 naked men and a monster. This sounds like a movie that's coming out on Christmas Eve that Mark can't wait to see.
Yeah, go, Mark.
Croc Farastu, yes. When the moon is full, he turns into a crocodile. His name is Dundee.
Right, yeah.
The monster in this case was a 9-foot alligator, which the funny thing about alligators and crocodiles is we kind of say, we don't have dinosaurs anymore. But to me, those are dinosaurs.
Yeah. They were back in the dinosaur age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, let's talk a little more baseball. Sorry, we got sidetracked by the naked men and the monster.
That's a totally different show.
That's our other podcast. You can hear it on Spotify.
Yeah.
2 naked men and a
Two
monster.
naked guys and the monster can talk about anything.
Starring Charlie
That's on
Sheen.
Playboy After Dark.
That's a pipe you got on. Sorry, I'm joking.
The 1976 Chicago Cubs pitching staff was historically bad, posting the major's worst combined numbers in runs, hits, homers allowed, complete games, team ERA 4.63. The weird part about it is, you look at the names on that pitching staff, they're not so bad.
No, Rick Russell, Ray Burris, Steve Renko, Bill Bonham, and Steve Stone. Seems Steve Stone won 25 games with the Orioles, isn't he? This was a good team.
He did, yeah.
Rick Russell gave up the home run to Bo Jackson in the All-Star game, but he was a good pitcher.
You know they were a bad team when, for instance, they played the Phillies and they were leading them 13-2 in a game, and then ended up losing 18-16, and they lost to the Dodgers 14-12.
That's like one of those things that's like, if you take away the 16-3 run that the Phillies had, we win that game.
We do.
That's right.
Going away. Yeah.
Bill, the manager, Jim Marshall, didn't want that much from his starters.
He wasn't asking much. He said, all I expect from a starter is 7 strong innings, which is about 2 to 3 innings less than they ask from their pitchers today.
Just
7.
Just give me 7.
Now it's like, can you give me 3? I'll do my best, coach. Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's so true, man. You see a guy go out for the 7th now, and you're like, what are they doing?
He's going to die.
Kill this guy.
What are they doing? Those son of a bitches are killing this man.
Reed Detmers will never pitch again.
Exactly.
He's at 80 pitches. Oh, my God, his arm's going to fall
they get all
off.
sweaty. Okay, get me out.
Even a bright spot on the Cubs, rookie reliever Bruce Sutter and his 1.75 ERA had a rough outing during the stretch. prompting him to reflect on rookie overconfidence. He says it reminds you that you're a rookie. So he would go on to have a Hall of Fame career, become one of the better closers in baseball history. Bruce Sutter.
You were speaking of, pitching, and players today don't pitch very far into games because, it is time for my Mark Fidrich update of the week. And Fidrich, who had not done that great in the All-Star game, his next start after the All-Star game is against the A's. He wins 1-0. A game goes 11 innings. He pitches all 11 innings. I mean, no pitch count there. Nearly 46,000 are at Tiger Stadium, and he almost gets into a brawl with Claudell Washington because Claudell was taking his time getting to the batter's box, and Fidrich just squatted on the mound waiting for him, and his next pitch was inside, and then almost touched off a brawl. But Fidrich always came across as being this nice guy, not someone that would throw inside to you, not do a Bob Gibson to you.
Yeah, but even the greats back then, the other pitchers on that staff would have told Fidrich, if you want to be really successful, you have to pitch inside. And so I'm sure even nice talking to the baseball Fidrich would have been like, you're getting too much of the plate, Claudell. Boom.
Yep.
And, but man, so there's a happy medium between asking a guy to go 3 innings and expecting a guy to go 11. I can see that, not having that
7 innings.
Not having exactly, right? Go 7. I think we can find some common ground there. Hey, Bill, not much of a batting race this year as our former guest George Brett is just running away with this thing.
Yeah, he's got a 40-point lead over Rod Carew at the All-Star break. But Rod Carew comes out and says, I'm going to win the batting title. I'm going to take it from George Brett. Season ends. This is how it finished. George Brett finished with a .333 batting average. His teammate Hal McRae was at .332, and Carew was at .331. So Carew made 38 points on George Brett. I mean, just to be able to say that and to actually almost come through, that showed you how great a hitter Rod Carew was.
Yeah, and I think the next year he showed even more how great a hitter he was. He hit 388 in 1977, 76 points ahead of George Brett, who hit 312.
So do you think he said that because he thought he was a great hitter, or he didn't think George Brett was as good as he was showing?
Probably both, right? I mean, Brett's it's his breakthrough season, so he's probably expecting a little regression, and he's probably thinking, I'm just about to get hot. Those guys can tell when they're about to, when things start to fall the way they think they should. So he probably thought a little bit about both. And, think about that, 333 to 331. George Brett goes 0 for 4 the next day. Carew goes 2 for 4, and they're tied.
Come down there, stretch they come.
She's still Wonder Woman. Joan Joyce is slowing down? I don't think so. I had never heard of her, I'll be the first to admit, but my God, was she a total stud and dominated the softball world.
Yeah, if you look her, she was part of the Connecticut Brackettes. The Brackettes, she did pretty well with them. You tell me. She won 429 games and lost 27. She struck out almost 6,000 batters in less than 3,400 innings. She also hurled 105 no-hitters with 33 perfect games. Damn. Man. And Scott, you had said something, we talked about this yesterday, that probably some of those losses were complete game 1-0 losses for.
Yeah.
It wasn't like she was probably getting hit around.
Oh, I can't imagine there were too many times when then she was gave up 7 in 3 1/3.
Man, how does a manager walk out there and go, well, Joan, get off the mound. 429, buddy.
Joyce was a Chapman College alum, much like Padres pitcher Randy Jones.
Oh, yeah.
So, but they threw much differently. She probably threw harder than Randy Jones.
For the record.
All right, let's wrap this thing up, shall we? For the record, Bill, Paul Gallico, tell us about him.
I'm going to tell you that he died at the age of 78. But he was known for publishing more than 40 books for adults and children, including The Snow Goose, which I know is one of our favorites, and The Poseidon Adventure. That was the basis for the blockbuster movie I saw 300 times back in 1976.
You're going the wrong way.
Really, exactly. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're going to the bottom of the ship. It's at the bottom of the ocean. He also produced the Lou Gehrig Pride of the Yankees as well.
Ah,
Oh, great movie. Do you know who played Babe Ruth in that movie?
Stephen Lang.
19, I think it came out in 42, I want to say, something like that. You know who played Babe Ruth?
Errol Flynn.
Close. Twigs?
Denzel Washington.
Very close. It was Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth
Oh, wow.
played Babe Ruth in the movie. So
Mark, Southern Illinois with a big hire.
that's right. They have a new athletic director, and you should be familiar to Illinois fans. It's Gale Sayers, the great running back. He became their athletic director from 76 to 81. And, people just don't realize what a great running back Gale Sayers was. It's sort of like when you think of Barry Sanders, who retired too young. Well, Gale Sayers got hurt so much, had so many knee surgeries. But, man, when he was healthy, there may not have been a better player in the NFL. In NFL history.
When did he
Just
retire?
Electric. I want to say it was 71 he retired.
Okay. So before I started watching. Okay.
Yeah, his last season was 71. But, like, for instance, and he only had two 1,000-yard seasons in 66 and 69 because he had so many knee injuries. But he was so electric. He had a 6-touchdown game, and not only running the ball, catching the ball, but he returned kicks and punts. He was electric. Had a 6-touchdown game against the Niners, I want to say, when he played with the Bears. Yep. Just so electric.
And forever immortalized in Brian's song.
That's right.
That's
with,
right.
James Caan and Billy D. Williams.
I've never
Brian
seen
Pickle.
that movie.
You have never seen Brian's song?
Nope.
Oh my God, you need to watch it. You'll be crying at the
I'm
end.
not a big
especially the
musical
music. It's not. No, but the music, the score for that movie, the score from the movie. Just listening to the score of the movie will make you cry. It's such a sad
I'll
song.
watch it now.
Yep.
Okay.
I want to see Bill's song. How about this? Olympic basketball. Adrian Dantley scores 22. Mitch Kupchak 19. Scott May 16. As USA wins 106-86, a first-round win over Italy. So, we have the dream teams now. But you look at that roster from the 1976 USA team, all college kids, and it's a pretty who's who of basketball from 1976.
Faces in the crowd.
Steve Hoff, Mark, who's that?
Well, okay. One Hoff to another Hoff, man. We got to stay connected. He's the first wrestler ever to win state championships in 3 straight years. He's 18 years old. He goes to Westminster High. Here's the interesting thing about Steve Hoff, okay? Not only do we share the same first 3 letters.
No.
He was born November 7th in 1957. He shares a birthday with me.
No.
Born 2 years before me. He was born in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So he was in Gettysburg. He was 3-time state champ in 74, 75, and 76. His career record, 72-3-1. He was inducted into the Carroll County and Maryland Hall of Fame. And then he helped coach the wrestling program. He passed away, unfortunately, in 2019.
One other thing the Hoffer and Hoffman have in common, that 72-3-1, the 1 was with Hoffman.
Yes.
They just embraced each other.
Yeah, in their tidy whities.
And fought to a draw. Hey, Ann Mulrooney, what's her claim to fame, Billy?
Well, she's an 18-year-old senior. She just won both the mile and 880 to lead the Prairie du Chien High School team to its 2nd straight Class B state title. Her claim to fame, really, she's the first Wisconsin girl to run the mile under 5 minutes. She ran it at a 4:56.9. She also set a number of state records that still stand to this day.
Man, I still think that, running fast, like those kind of distances, they just blow me away. Faces in the crowd we're done with. Now let's talk a little 19th hole. Mark, Tom from Middletown, New Jersey, is pissed off about the bird.
Yes.
He sure is. Tom DeMartini. He says, you disappoint me by putting Randy Jones on the cover and sticking Mark Fidrich on page 39. Fidrich should have gotten equal billing. Hear, hear.
This is I'm done. Yeah.
This is an outrage.
Outrage.
It would have
Yes,
been one thing
I
if
am
he had been on
outraged.
page 29, but 39?
Yeah.
You know, in
It's like they buried him.
1977,
They don't care about him.
in 1977, when he was on the cover with Big Bird, I wonder what Tom thought about it then.
Tom's never happy. I'll just tell you that much.
No, he's not.
Billy, Jack Jones from UMass.
He says, thank you for the excellent article on the fiery Frank Fuhrer, the Pittsburgh Triangle's imaginative and controversial owner. However, I was not surprised to read that Fuhrer has reduced at least a handful of women players to tears. I can empathize with Yvonne Goolagong, Peggy Michelle, and other female members of the Triangles, past and present. You see, Frank Fuhrer was my Little League manager.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Man.
So he knows firsthand what it takes to be beaten down by that man, by the feud.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Jack. We only have unhappy people in the 19th hole. And if the men aren't going to do it, Bill, let's get a woman who can be all pissed off.
Come on, Gloria Averbach, bring it home from San Francisco. She says, your article on Mark Spitz confirmed my belief that the golden fish is nothing but a big zero. Here's a man whose main worry is the cost and color of a bulletproof wall in which to set his medals. And is the regular evening entertainment at the Spitzes really a TV performance of his races in Munich? Egotism is an understatement. As an athlete myself and a person who has known and seen world-class athletes, I believe Mark Spitz is no more than an unfortunate child. And while he may have worked hard to become a physical wonder, he misses the mark as a total person. Gloria A., San Francisco.
Oh,
Wow.
go jump in the bay, Gloria. Cool off.
Damn. But it would be weird to go to Spitz's house and go, hey, what are we watching tonight? Oh, it's a great movie. Oh, wow, it's your Olympic time again. Okay, let's watch one more time. What'd you do in this race?
Here's where I touch. See where all those other people are way behind? That's me in front.
How many goals you think I'm going to win? I'll say 7. What do you got?
That's it for this week's Past Our Prime, Montreal's turbulent opening ceremonies. OJ just wants to go home. Jim Palmer's quiet complexity, and Joan Joyce proving she's still Wonder Woman. For Bill and Mark, I'm Scott Johnston, and we are Past Our Prime.
Can I have one more question before we go?
Yes.
Yes.
Did Gary Hall really become the first swimmer ever with the flag?
The first swimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man!
That's
if my hands could reach through the screen
Oh my
right
God,
now.
that is true. Oh man, I never heard that.
Nope.